Hello.
Hey there. How you doing?
So, how are we doing? Hey, I think I've met before.
Yeah.
But I don't remember your name.
Went to the tunnel thing.
Oh, excellent.
How's it going?
Great. Coming.
And then
How are you doing, Thao?
it's good.
What's the old man?
Huh?
What's the old man?
Oh well, we were just talking product all day.
You were what?
We're talking product all day.
Oh, watch out for that. There's a spider in there. I mean,
Oh, no.
it's fine. You're welcome to put your bag there. It's just don't knock the thing over unless you like spiders in your bag.
I'm not a big fan of spiders.
Well, sure hope there's a spider in here. Oh yeah, he's still there. Okay.
Why do you have the spider in there?
Uh,
You
yeah,
spot it?
he was just hanging out here. Just cut it. But I'll just put him outside now. Do you guys want to talk in the back? You guys want some water or something? Or?
Yes, that'd be great. How's your call?
Oh, you know what? Well, we rescheduled the call, but I have a call at 7.
I see. I hope your day's been nice.
Yeah, it's been beautiful. The friend who got me into photography just purchased a full-frame camera, and it just arrived this morning, so we're playing around with that. Oh, yeah, I'll get you just. Full-frame is just a larger sensor.
Oh,
Like,
I see. So not.
they cost like 3 times as much because they have more depth of field. Here, get you bottled water, or can I get you actual water? Doesn't matter.
I'll take a bottle.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to hang out in the back, then, I'll grab my water here too. Does your... Oh, I guess I can see your stuff on the iPad too.
Are we going out? In the back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sure, thanks. Yeah, it's just a nice day. Sorry?
It's not rainy day, just like all the others.
Has that been a theme?
Oh, a theme of not raining? Yes. Drop.
Ah. Hmm.
There's a lot of people who just think of days of not raining right now. Because they don't have water.
They want rain?
Yeah.
Why is that?
This is a drop. Oh man, so this is mean by your tent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thanks. Have you met Kelly?
Yeah. Back. Same part of the same. You have a lovely house.
Okay. Oh, thanks, man.
Does it buy stuff?
For the next 3 weeks or so, and then I'll probably go back to San Francisco, and then I'm going to Hong Kong for a while.
Exciting.
Yeah, so it's always great to touch base.
Hello, Kelly.
Kevin,
Hello.
how you doing?
Yeah.
Kevin, I think, came with myself to the tunnel some time ago.
Your
Thao.
shoes got messed up. You mentioned that. You're like, I hope Kevin's shoes are okay. Everyone's shoes were messed up.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Pretty
it's
much.
probably my fault because I didn't tell them. It's not your fault.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't mean to put blame. It's just what you said. Saying,
Yeah.
I hope Kevin's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that was something that was...
That was really fun.
Yeah. I think life's often about rich experiences and having...
Yes.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, we can, if you want to chat around here. Kelly, I know you're in the middle of something. If you want to continue editing, no worries. We're just going to talk
What are
for a
you guys
bit.
going to talk about?
I don't know. Just
So what we just did, we just met with a, I don't know, we've been talking a lot about elevators and stuff, or like what, basically we're building a product,
Mhm.
and we're just like, what does this mean? What should we do? How did we, like, what does it mean to attract users? So we've just been talking about that kind of stuff. Why do people like things? Why do I like things?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what we've been asking. We did that release a few days ago.
Mhm.
And that was fun. Learned a lot about like kind of the space, how people interact with what when you explain the feature, how they interact with it.
Mhm.
We learned a lot about what not to do, or what to do before, or what to do sooner than later.
Mhm.
Oh.
Well, it's like life. A series of calibrations. You go along and figure out how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, iteratively. Yeah.
Right, but it's a good experience.
Yeah, that's us right now. Like, what's up with you?
Go to Hong Kong. For
Yeah.
how long?
Depending on how well it goes. So, trying to decide if I want to spend more time in Hong Kong or more time in Shanghai. My sister's opening a restaurant in Shanghai, and
Oh dang.
yeah, and I'd love to be there and like record some like the opening and such. And Hong Kong is where my family will be. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what are good ways to connect people based on like interesting experiences they can share with others in the world. I've talked with you about this before of how just a listing of a bunch of different experiences that you can uniquely bring or offer the world. And if that's more accessible, then people are more likely to engage with each other. But just most people, I feel like, don't engage or talk with each other unless if it's out of necessity, unfortunately. So experiences like the tunnel, just more. So there's more of those. And
More about
readily available.
experiencing a unique experience rather than like actually meeting people for some reason.
Yeah, networking events are often filled with people who are like desperate and not really interesting, and
That's
just
interesting.
want to like throw a bunch of business cards, as many business cards as they can out.
Interesting. So that's interesting. You say you want to connect people because they don't want to connect.
Around experiences.
Not necessary. So why do you want to connect people then? I mean, that's an interesting thing. I don't mean to like.
Sure. I think it's one of the highest leverage ways to like greater human happiness through facilitating these personal connections, because like that's, I mean, humans are often designed as social animals. Generally, you can shortcut so many things if you have any slight interest in any given area by connecting with someone who's also good at that and who's happy to share it. And there are many people who are happy to share it, so long as there's actually someone who's interested in learning from them genuinely, in a way where they can be fully immersed in it for like a period of 8 hours for a work day or something like that.
I see. So it's for the greater good because you believe that if people are more connected, they solve problems, so to speak.
I don't know. That seems like a consequence that often happens. But it's kind of like Tony Hsieh's project. If you get a bunch of interesting people together in the same place, then they're more likely to do something interesting.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, I think connections should be organic. It's something similar to like even playgrounds for kids. You know, they connect because they're having fun together. They're sharing a fun experience.
Yeah. Well, so where are the playgrounds for adults then, or like adolescents? It's like right. Well, exactly. And I think that's the problem, because often people go there for escapism and to drink, and it's like the barriers to entry are relatively high, and you have to have a specific common interest in getting inebriated
I
to
always
some
find that
extent.
really strange. Yeah, like you don't connect on people unless you have a common interest. For the most part, it is socially unacceptable to connect to people unless there exists a common ground.
Yeah.
Connecting for connecting's sake is not natural.
Yeah, I think that's often also because there's like this scarcity mindset where if there's only a finite amount of time and bandwidth in the world, how do you want to expend that? Do you want to expend that with people who have similar interests or someone who doesn't? And generally, finding someone who has similar interests isn't that high of a barrier to entry to the conversation, and I think that makes things more fluid.
Interesting.
It's like one way to think about it is like all the African kids or African people who are like having Ebola and stuff like that. Like, do you care about them? Are they on your mind? Not really.
Yeah, there's only a finite amount of time, and a lot of people who are like hypersensitive like really do care about them, and like there's lots of people as they walk down the street, they'll see someone who's homeless, and that will be very troubling for them, and they'll relate immensely. But to what extent is that like a reasonably like scalable thing, or like can you actually feel intensely for every person who has like slight problems, like family problems or everything, and does that actually prevent you from being effective as an entity or an agent in the world, like actually changing anything, or are you just going to feel bad for going and that's it? So much of life is going to be selective focus with how you allocate your time, and if it's diffuse, then you're not really doing very much. Even though like humans are generally like really designed to want to help each other out. It's just because a product of our society is growing so large, it's really hard to actually do that, and it's hard to care about people, and it's hard to like know everyone's name anymore. So we just don't, and then we just don't care, and then we get lonely, and then like we have like society-wide depression and people not doing so well.
That's interesting. Because how I would model it would be more on a case with people don't connect to each other because they have a bad experience with another experience.
Mhm.
Like, for example, I see a culture where a lot, like, one of the things we optimize is good feelings.
Mhm.
We're like, very good at that. But in an environment where there's a lot of good feelings, there are often very few prominent bad feelings.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, because bad experiences just have such a large effect on us, people don't want to do actions based on a few bad experiences. Even though there's a potential for like some mediocre good ones.
Yeah.
And what I feel like, at least my experiences in terms of connecting, a lot of the barrier for connection is not necessarily the people needing to prove their value to me.
Mhm.
More like I had an experience of rejection, or so to speak, where I don't want to take the risk.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense, and I think that's a byproduct of having too many people. Like, you are more likely to have a bad experience or neutral experience if there are too many people in the world. But if there's only 150 people in society ever, like with the tribes, then everyone's specific direct interest is to behave well, because they will be remembered no matter what they do in a positive or negative way, probably forever. And if you behave poorly, you're kicked out of the tribe and you'll probably die.
I see. So, I see. So this kind of like the fact there's a lot of people and you can just kind of pick up and drop people.
Yeah.
I see.
Because it is often, like, within your interest, you're generally given many situations where it is better to burn the other person and you get like +10 for yourself, versus +3 for both of you, where you can have like decently good interactions, but it's only +3, and so the net like positive magnitude in your life is lesser if you want to also help them out,
I see.
because it necessitates you having less attention and bandwidth to allocate towards the things that you're pursuing.
It's a very interesting model.
But yeah, they're just models or theories or heuristics, so I mean.
No, it's totally fine. It's interesting. I mean, yeah. So, it's interesting.
Thao also went to UCSD. I don't know if you guys talked about that previously before.
You went to UCSD?
No,
No, I
I
thought
went
you
to
were
the-
UCSD.
Oh,
I went to
I'm
do-
sorry, you're right.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
I wonder why I thought you went to UCSD.
Probably because I know.
Oh, I know you threw people at UCSD? No, I don't know.
I don't know.
Weird. Yep. Sorry about that.
Alright.
I feel like well, particularly as of recently, I feel like my ability to remember things is like declined.
It's fine. I think I caught you in a. Did I catch you when you're like full of thought or something?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, it's not bad. There's different moods in different states throughout the day.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So one of the reasons I really want to talk to you, and I think you said something really interesting too, is you're someone who understands like the networking space and kind of the shitty environment that networking is.
Mm-hmm.
And when me and Kevin sat down to work on this project, that's what we want to work with. Like, we believe firmly that there is something wrong with at least physical networking. And I really want to, I don't know, I just kind of want to talk about networking, what it is. Like, I want to understand, like, when you go to events, who are these people? What are they trying to do? That's kind of what I'm just really interested in, at least at the moment. So, like, you said something about, like, these people aren't very interesting.
If you go to networking events, most of the time they're not
Yes.
very interesting.
So what kind of people are going to networking events? Like, at least in your impression.
So I mean, this is super biased because we're in the Silicon Valley, first of all, and it's also super biased because the ones I would go to are ones that I would like guess have a reasonably high chance of like being interesting. I've been to most of the most popular meetups and most of the most popular Facebook events where the goal has been to like connect with other people in the area. I think, well, firstly, the most like genuine and reasonable thing why I think people will go to networking events is if they have recently moved to the area and just want to make new friends, except that almost never turns out as anything, or if it does, then they consistently want to meet up and or hang out, but they have no specific purpose. And then when we do, I feel like it's relatively meaningless or like not fruitful or like enjoyable, because they're just like basically desperately lonely, and they need a venue or medium to connect with someone else or another person, and they just honestly aren't that very interesting to me. And then they're very like, hey, let's totally meet up, or like, hey, what are we doing this week? And like, oh, I mean, there's things going on. That's like the only real like genuine or valid like good reason I feel. For everyone else, I think it's like very well-meaning, but not really actually like doing the thing that's worthwhile. So a ton of people fly in or like are here because they believe that somehow magically they're going to get a ridiculous idea funded magically by just going to a couple meetups and meeting an investor. So most of them are looking for investors, and most of them think that somehow investors can be like, whoa, cool, your idea that you've made like a 20-slide deck for is totally something I'm going to throw like hundreds of thousands of dollars at or millions of dollars. And so often when I mention I know investors, then they're like, oh yeah, let me send you this, let me send you that, and they're just not very impressive, and they haven't done anything, and they expect to be able to get money from it because the news widely purports like people coming here and getting a ton of like money from it.
Yeah, the culture is very much about like ideas is what do stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if that's specifically. It just people have this idealized version of Silicon Valley in their minds when they come here. They attend like lots of big name conferences. I'll meet lots of people at conferences. Like people pay thousands and thousands of dollars for tickets to go in. So an example is TechCrunch Disrupt, and all of them, and they'll get there. And so I was there this year too, and just they're just not that interesting or valuable. There are a number of them that are doing things that are really awesome, and these people don't really necessarily attend networking events because they're the ones on stage giving talks, and then the people who like what they're doing connect with them, and they message them or email them and set up a time specifically to speak with them. So I don't think that any real like really successful people spend more than like a couple times going to networking events because they are almost always unfruitful. And to me it's really interesting because it's a model that keeps having money poured into it because there are so many people who don't know better and then go to them and then they find it's not actually that valuable. There are some that are kind of like networking and it's around a specific topic that are sponsored by like law firms. Like Oric had one of them, and they have like a bunch of interesting speakers come in. And that's cool because the highest value I receive from going to events is often from people who will go very far out of their way to see specific people talk. And that's decent. But otherwise, they are largely unfruitful, and I think that if people are going to connect and have like good interactions anyways, they're probably going to do that via email and or like Facebook anyways, and like the medium through which they connect is probably not going to make a difference. There are exceptions which I think are like, so I mentioned Human app, which so you can search for people by like I met them last month in San Francisco, and they know Thao, and that will show up a result because it remembers and brings you things in the way that you remember them. But if you want something like specifically that's going to be more distinctly valuable, I think they need to be more sensitive and be like apps that show you when you visit the city again where that person is who you met like X number of months ago, and it shows them all like seamlessly. But that requires immense amount of overhead and like way too much work. I want things that, like for me, I want things that ping me every X months after I have met somebody so I can follow up on their work. So what's most interesting and that predicts the greatest amount of success for somebody is whether or not they're actually following up or still doing the thing that they said they were when you met them, like X amount of like weeks and or months later. And if they're not, then that's fine too, but they better have like a good reason or like show what happened to their progress in the past. It's the best predictor of the future is the past and all that. So I want something that regularly pings me every X months and then just like brings up an email or whatever, and it's like, hey, you haven't talked with Thao in like 6 months, you should probably ping him and see what his projects are up to. And that shows an interest, and when I use words like tell me more of something, they'll tell me a bunch of stuff about what they've been thinking about, like their obstacles, and that's really interesting to me. But otherwise, I wouldn't say that most networking things are that valuable, and I think that most people who want to connect for networking's sake probably want to take more than they're giving. Almost
Yeah,
universally.
that makes sense.
So when you're connecting, do you feel like you have to make a personal connection with them in order for it to be valuable? Not valuable, but
So no, they just really want me to connect them with somebody who's going to give them a bunch of money for their project, which I don't think actually brings that much value. Or I ask people, how does this help people? Or like, in what way does this actually, like, who would pay for this product? Like, if it was the ideal version, who would actually pay for it? And how much are you actually going to get for that? Because most people don't even like to value of information calculations, seeing like, if they take it to a logical extent, is it actually going to return anything for you in any like meaningful way? It's based on like how much work it's going to be. Most of the time it's not. Do I feel like I should make a personal connection? No, because of there being just simply so much volume and so little follow-up, because everyone here gets really excited about like, oh, an idea, way to go, awesome, cool, totally, man, make it happen, but they don't actually do it because doing the actual work is hard for people.
Oh yeah.
Spend too much time dreaming.
Yeah, and it's a local optimum that makes people feel good when you encourage them based on a simple idea. So most people do that thing, and then nothing happens, because then they feel bad that they can't actually fulfill it, and they're like, wow, programming is like difficult, and like, oh man, and so, and then they're like, well, this is my version 0.1, you know, the ultimate version is going to have all these extra features that will really make it valuable, but then like they don't put those real features into the main thing, so.
I see. That's very good insight. Thank you.
I was just curious to like what makes you want to connect with someone, like you personally. Who do you want to connect with? If you were to meet someone, like what kind of qualities would this person need?
They need to be curious and like actually driven to do things and be relatively competent in whatever areas they're exploring. So I feel like I'm learning with somebody, and I can, like, as an extension of my own experiences, vicariously be happy for their successes. And I feel good that there are like a number of people in my life who are fairly effective at that. And that's only been through many, many years of meeting social circles that then like I would feel I gravitate more towards certain individuals in them, and then I ask those individuals like, when can I meet you in the next week or so? And then they will bring me to other similar events, and then I meet a different group of circle, and then I gravitate towards different people, right? And so it's like through many years of calibration and like specific signaling. So like as I was doing earlier, running urban exploration things, bringing people to interesting experiences, people will talk about those things, and then your reputation precedes you as someone who enriches someone's life in some specific way, and then people like that a lot, and it's easy to get a reputation for something and then meet other people who have similar interests. And someone who not only likes urban exploration but also likes photography or something, since I'm loudly signaling I like those things, they probably also have similar interests in other realms, like in startups or whatever else. And if they even happen to be in the Silicon Valley, they probably also have even more similar interests. So, as you said, it's great if it's organic, and I think that that is like the definition of organic for me, is loudly signaling the things, and I can accelerate organic interactions by talking about them or getting people to similar experiences, or through those experiences like the ones that you did.
I'm getting the impression that in a, in quotes, professional environment, people don't really want to make organic connections.
Yeah, so in professional network, like if you just frame it as a professional network or something, people generally see it as a numbers game. They just want to get like the most number of connections, specifically like LinkedIn is what I'm talking about, because there's no depth and no, like you don't need to measure any of that. All people see is a number like, oh, you got 500 plus connections, that's a good thing. You must be well liked and are popular, because so few people actually have that. It's seen widely as a thing that's to look up to. Yeah, I don't think it's really that valuable. It's like quantified self stuff, where it's like people optimize for these numbers rather than like the actual meaning behind the thing.
So like the statement saying making professional networking personal, is that like contradicting, do you think?
Making
Professional connections personal, or like some form of like intimate connection rather than it being professional. Like, do you think, is that a contradicting statement?
well, I think this is what fraternities largely try to do and have been largely like unsuccessful at, because, I mean, so like maybe 20% of them are successful, but like if you look at them as a broad stroke that I'm making, they try to package personal relationships and or like help people accelerate their trajectory and in the business world by basically having an in-group for like, oh, you're some Greek letters here, so I'm going to connect you with my boss who works at X law firm, and then they'll probably be more likely to get you in, is what they think, but if you don't actually have the credentials or you don't actually know your stuff, then it doesn't really matter. People who actually know their stuff will like come through anyways because they actually know their stuff. And no amount of like personal networking or connections will actually make up for the fact that if you don't know your stuff, you don't know your stuff, and I don't want you in my company. And this is just more and more the case now, especially because there are tons and tons of graduates who, through no fault of their own, are graduating with just ill-equipped skills. Just like, they can be great, but the system is great at teaching things that have been great and like are not necessarily that effective anymore. So again, like, it doesn't actually really matter, these personal connections in companies, I find, or it matters less and less now. It matters, like, it's better than not at all, but very marginally so if you don't know yourself. It's way better to invest all that the time and hours you spend like trying to network and know the right people and going to these networking events and just like honing your craft and being the best in your field. Unless there's a lot of people who want to work for companies that treat them like cogs because it's easier and you don't have to do as much like thought or use as much creative thought in it. But you're just more replaceable, and those probably aren't very stable to begin with, is my thoughts. Particularly, also, I have like, so, and I may be speaking more intensely too, because this is an area that I spent a lot of time, I never bought into it, but I spent a lot of time with this network marketing communities, and that was fascinating to me because it was literally like take all of the people who you know and try to milk them for all the money that they've got. And
why were you in the network marketing?
Because that was fascinating to me. It was so interesting. It was like a religion where you make money off of your friends, basically.
Is this the kind of pyramid scheme as thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's not actually. So it's not technically. And I asked a lot of really good hard questions for them, and they're really good at rationalizing their way out. Yeah. And so
It's like a fraternity, yeah.
Amway and or USANA was one of them. There's another one too. But basically, you recruit friends, and then if they join, you make some percentage of the fees that they pay to this company. Obviously, you're making like less than 10% of it, but you're making something, and then if they pay into it forever, then you're making something of their thing. Well, of course, obviously the company is the one that wins by a landslide, but you feel like you're getting more and more, and like if there are people under them, then you also get more too. And so the only thing that makes it not a pyramid scheme is that you're selling them valuable product every month. Or they say valuable, which is basically just 10x overpriced vitamins and whatever else it is. And so it was very much a culture of see who you can befriend just well enough so that you can have them sign up for this, and that's basically it. And then once they're in, then you pay a little bit more attention to them because they're in, obviously, but you only want to pay them as much attention to just get them to stay. And then you like spend all the rest of your time trying to recruit more people. And just spending time with these people, it's like so evident. I remember very vividly like this girl who's like crying and talking about how like she really just needs like this last promotion, like why don't you join on the phone with someone? And it was so manipulative. It was so amazing how people would do that. It's mostly a byproduct of the fact that we live in a scarcity society now, more so than before, and it's only getting more and more scarce, and it's harder to find jobs and like harder to make money. So I don't think that personal and professional networking mix well at all until we have an abundance society where people can afford to take the time to meet other people who genuinely have the same interests. But until then, it's mostly relatively contrived, I feel.
Yes, sir.
That's a really good way to put it.
It's understandable why. It's just, unfortunately, it's something that will take a lot of time to reverse and or like
Yeah.
reduce.
I mean, if that's the ecosystem that is, especially in this area, like that's
Yeah.
something that you can really fight. Yeah.
So my initial impression would be that anything in that realm would be fighting a very much uphill battle. But there will be a point, hopefully, where that will become like much more valuable. But I mean, there's going to be so many technological advances in like different platforms and things that may not be worth specifically attempting to address now because I think it's too ahead of its time. But I mean, that being said, I always recommend people just to go out and try doing things. So like, go to a networking event and be like, "Hey, we made this thing. Why don't you try it out right now?" And then you can see how people respond. Because to them, that might be super valuable. I personally have a hard time seeing how I would use it, but that doesn't mean that all these other people won't find it useful. It's good to also just ask like how that would bring value in a way that's consistent enough that would have them going back to it enough where you guys would actually make money too.
I see.
Because I see it as like here's a phone number and then you get all the extra information, cool, but then like why would they ever go back to it again after gleaming that, right? So like Reportive does it for free, and I think that they're ad supported, or I'm not sure what it was, but Reportive basically gives a bunch of really rich information integrated easily as through a user script on your Gmail, which is where a lot of people spend their time replying to emails anyways. And so that's, in my opinion, like a super rich integrated thing that requires no extra work for them. When you ask someone to take a step other than their normal workflow, that's like a really big ask, and unless if it has like a 10x return for the effort they have to expend, it's really difficult.
I see.
But I can definitely recommend you to different accelerators to look at, or to talk with other people who went through similar accelerators.
I mean, I think it's very clear right now, and I just need to understand like the products, the people in the space, right? Or who are experiencing, like who our users are, and the problem.
Yeah, definitely. It's good that you're coming to my chat. And I think the best thing that's going to give you the richest information is just going over, figuring out. I mean, you already know who your target demographic is, and just actually talking with them about it.
I see. Yeah, that's really interesting.
How are you guys feeling? What are you noticing?
Let's see. Yeah, no, I think what you're saying is really spot on. Because like a lot of it just like we want things to be better, but that's not really a need, right? Like when I thought about the users, right? I think about like when we sat down and we thought about this, it's just like think about like people who are like really like I have a lot of friends who just are half the network, and I just know the experience is kind of shitty. So we're just like people do it. Could be easier. Does that warrant an application for it? Well, people get around it. Like like adding someone on LinkedIn on the spot is kind of annoying. But is it that bad? So that's a lot of what we're exploring now. Like Kevin was really into like he wants some things to do more organic in the professional environment, and like I guess maybe we've been fortunate enough to like sometimes do these meetups, or sometimes we talk to people, and we build like these really great like usually from like engineer to engineer though, like really great like relationships, like these like, and we wanted to foster that. So a lot of things we spent a lot of time talking about is how the engagement on LinkedIn is really bad, and we felt like it would be nice if that was, and we thought about maybe why, right? Maybe it's a platform issue, maybe it's a feature issue, but what you're going is maybe that's not the case. Like
it's the intent. People they just want for numbers. They don't care about really much about anything.
Yes.
In depth.
Yeah, Kevin always talk about the digital Rolex. That's what LinkedIn
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And if people really just want a digital Rolex, that's definitely an issue.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it! Like I want things to be better.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it might be beneficial for like college students. So in the society outside of college, people go with networking events to get something from other people and ask money or get a job. But if I feel like in college, it helps college students in the sense that usually adults would love to help college students, love to help high school students.
Mm-hmm.
They don't necessarily get anything like money
Mhm.
back, but they will feel very rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I heard a lot from networking events in college. That a lot of alumni or local professionals will go to college because they want to help.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, yeah, we think a lot about the college students. I think a lot of, like, I was part of an engineering fraternity, so we're very business oriented as well.
Which one?
Theta Tau?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We have that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they have one SD.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
we had a internal fraternity council where all the professor fraternity will gather together.
Oh yeah, it's new, right?
Yeah, it's new.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We had to deal with that too. It's fun. I mean, I think they're just spending a lot more time with each other, so like, you have to be more like professional in a little bigger group. But yeah, I've been talking to a lot of like my fraternity friends, and then the basic impression I get is that although you talk about networking a lot, you don't. At least my fraternity. My fraternity is really bad at networking. It's like really bad. Most likely you just don't do it. You just don't do it much. We talk about it. We talk about how to do it. Spend a lot of time talking about things. But the truth is, like, the college students, they just want to drink a lot. At least my group. So if you have different experiences, then that's definitely valid. I don't. The basic impression getting from like college students is that they want to network. They don't do very much because school's hard. It's just a lot of work. But yeah, I mean.
I think they don't do it because they're scared of talking with strangers
Yeah,
or
that's a big
someone
part.
who have more experience than they are.
Yeah. It doesn't feel great being like the new guy or like just knowing like people are just everyone feels like so smart when you come out of college, right? It always feels like what's it called? It's you're doing people a favor. Oh no, they're doing you a favor by talking to you. At least that's how I felt coming out of college. But yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. I mean, we're definitely gonna play around with it a little bit, but yeah, I think it's definitely very wary that if that is kind of the nature of like physical networking.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people who are put themselves in a physical networking situation. Like I don't know if they can be helped or even if you want to help them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think our product fits a very particular user who networks. I don't think this particular app may be useful for you. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, for sure, like this idea doesn't fit for all people who network.
Mm-hmm.
I think the question we're asking is it worthwhile to think about more about this idea, knowing the fact that we're only going to get a subset of users who network, whether that's small or big, and whether it's rewarding for us to build something that is innately inorganic, or like, I don't know.
Because it's an app, yeah.
Well, it's more like because the nature of networking itself,
Yeah.
where it's not personal per se. So.
Well, I thought the point was that you provide much more personal information. So like a phone number is impersonal, but based on what I saw in the video, it unlocks a whole bunch of personal information that I otherwise would not have easily found.
I'm just saying, I'm just wondering if networking is meant for that. It's meant for opening up these personal connections, or, just...
What if people use that at parties?
I mean, it could work.
Like startup parties?
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Because I feel like, for example, you're talking about college,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of connections made at college is made through Facebook.
Hmm.
Yeah.
In terms of a tool that
Yeah.
people use
Like
to
with
connect
the
to each
peers,
other.
yeah.
I think Facebook is a very common tool for connecting with people.
Right.
If college students want to connect with like professionals or professors, then they will use other mediums